The air inside the 10 by 10 steel vault is perfectly still, recycled by a silent ventilation system that has just hummed its final breath. Inside, Elias Thorne, a man who claimed to own half the crypto mining operations in Nevada, is currently loosening his tie, gasping for air that feels dangerously thin. He isn't trapped because of a malfunction. The diagnostic screen on the wall is glowing a healthy, vibrant green. He is trapped because a biometric scan on the inside of the door has switched from reading fingerprints to displaying a single, static image, unpaid invoice number 404. Elias is screaming threats to the camera, promising lawsuits and violence, but the man watching the feed from his living room hasn't flinched. The man watching is Marcus, the contractor Elias fired 3 hours ago without a cent of the final payment. Marcus takes a sip of his coffee, checks the oxygen sensor reading on his iPad, and waits. Elias thinks he is a shark who just ate a minnow, but is about to realize it's actually the bait. This isn't just a dispute over money, it is a masterclass in blue-collar justice. To understand how a titan of industry ended up suffocating in his own arrogance, we have to rewind the clock exactly 30 days, to the moment he made the fatal mistake of thinking a handshake with a welder was legally binding. It started with a phone call that every independent contractor dreams of receiving, a blank check offer from a client who claims money is a vulgar construct. Marcus owns Ironclad Systems, a boutique firm specializing in panic rooms for the paranoid elite. When he arrived at the isolated estate in the Las Vegas foothills, the signs of extreme wealth were everywhere. Leased supercars, hired models, and Elias Thorne standing on the balcony like a modern-day king. Elias was young, brash, and spoke in a rapid-fire dialect of tech buzzword designed to confuse anyone asking for proof of funds. He didn't want a safe. He wanted a sanctuary to protect his alleged $200 million in cold storage assets. The specifications were a nightmare of engineering contradictions. Elias demanded walls reinforced with ballistic polycarbonate, an independent oxygen scrubbing system imported from Germany, and a magnetic locking mechanism that required industrial power to seal. Marcus did the mental math. The materials alone would cost more than his entire annual turnover. When he asked for the 50% deposit, Elias laughed. He pulled out a phone, showing a banking app with an astronomical balance, and said, "I don't do checks. I'll wire the full amount for materials today, and you'll get a double labor bonus when I inspect the seal." Blinded by the promise of a life-changing payday, Marcus agreed to start. The first week was a masterclass in psychological abuse. Elias didn't just supervise, he performed. He would storm into the workspace wearing a silk robe, screaming about micro-vibrations affecting his imaginary servers. He treated Marcus's crew not like skilled tradesmen, but like obstacles. When the wire transfer didn't arrive on day 3, Elias blamed a compliance hold in Switzerland. When it didn't arrive on day 5, he blamed banking holidays in Hong Kong. He was a virtuoso of excuses, layering them with just enough technical plausibility to keep Marcus working. It was a trap, and Marcus was already ankle-deep in the concrete, committed by fear of losing his own investment. By the second week, the atmosphere shifted from frustration to volatile rage. The crew hadn't been paid, and Marcus was draining his personal savings to keep them fed. But during a late-night wiring session, Marcus found the smoking gun. He overheard Elias on the terrace, begging a rental agency for an extension on the furniture and cars because his Mac hadn't paid out yet. Marcus froze. The reality crashed down like a steel beam. There was no crypto empire. Elias was a grifter staging a lifestyle to lure investors into a Ponzi scheme. The vault wasn't for protection. It was a prop. Marcus realized he would never get paid. He could have walked away and sued a ghost, but Marcus looked at the impenetrable door he had built and formed a different plan. The malicious compliance began the next morning. Marcus accelerated the work, approaching Elias with a new, apologetic attitude that fed the con man's ego. "We'll have it ready early, Mr. Thorne," he lied. While the crew polished the steel, Marcus personally handled the programming of the proprietary Ironclad OS. He hard-coded a series of logic gates deep under the user interface, adding a specific subroutine, a developer mode set to expire exactly 1 hour after the final handover. The day of completion arrived with high tension. The vault was a masterpiece, gleaming under recessed lighting. Elias walked around it, running his hands over the cool metal, checking the seals with a predatory grin. "It's adequate," he said, dismissing weeks of sweat. Send the invoice to my accountant. Marcus handed him a physical invoice instead. The balance is $4,000 to $5,000, due upon completion. Elias took the paper and slowly tore it in half. I'm not paying this, he whispered. The door squeaks. Consider the deposit you didn't get as a lesson in quality control. Now get off my property before I call the police. The crew bristled, ready to tear the walls down, but Marcus stopped them. He didn't scream or beg. He simply nodded with professional indifference. I understand, Marcus said. If the work isn't satisfactory, we can't expect payment. Elias smirked, convinced he had broken another working-class spirit. Leave the key fobs, Elias sneered. Marcus placed the master controls on the counter gently, almost reverently. He marched his crew out in silence. As they drove away, his foreman asked if he was crazy. Marcus pulled out his phone, opened a remote access app, and whispered, "He doesn't have the vault. He's just borrowing it." That evening, Elias prepared to host his first investigala. But first, he needed a moment of self-congratulation. He walked into the vault with a glass of champagne to revel in the silence of his stolen fortress. He stepped inside, and the heavy door slid shut automatically, engaging the magnetic seals with a dull thud. He smiled, sipping his drink. A moment later, he turned to the panel to exit. He pressed the button. The light blinked red. Access denied. He laughed nervously and tried the voice command. The intercom crackled, playing Marcus's pre-recorded voice. Trial period expired. Please purchase full license. Elias's laughter died instantly. He pulled out his phone. No signal. The Faraday cage Marcus installed worked perfectly. Not a single wave of energy could enter or leave. Elias ran to the glass wall, pounding on the polycarbonate, but the soundproofing was absolute. He was a mime in a box. Then, the lights flickered from clinical white to emergency red. The ventilation system pitched down, slowing until it stopped completely. On the main control screen, a chat window popped up, typing text in real time. Hello, Elias? This is customer support. We noticed a lapse in your subscription. Miles away, Marcus sat in his kitchen eating a sandwich, watching the feed on his laptop. He wasn't hacking. He was using admin privileges he never handed over. He typed, "Oxygen levels are stable, but without scrubbers, CO2 will build up in 4 hours." Elias pressed his face against a camera lens, screaming silent words. Marcus typed again, "I can't hear you, but I can see your bank app. The real one. The one you tried to hide." Elias scrambled for a dry erase marker and wrote on the glass, "I will pay. Let me out." Marcus took a slow bite of his sandwich and typed, "The price has changed. There's a late fee, an emergency service fee, and a stupidity tax. Total, $7,000 to $5,000. Elias stared at the screen, furious, and wrote, "Limit IS 50K. Marcus didn't hesitate. He moved his mouse to the log out button. Elias saw the cursor move and the primal panic seize him. He frantically erased the board and wrote, "Wait, I have crypto. Real crypto." The arrogance was gone, replaced by the desperate realization that money means nothing if you can't breathe. Marcus enabled a hardlined internet connection for exactly 5 minutes, restricted to a single crypto exchange. Elias, shaking and sweating through his suit, logged into his cold storage. It wasn't millions, but it was everything he had scammed over the last year. He transferred the Bitcoin. Marcus watched the blockchain confirmation hit his wallet. The debt was paid. The tax was collected. Marcus typed one last message. "Thank you for choosing Ironclad Systems." He hit the unlock command, and the magnetic seals disengaged with a hiss of repressurizing air. The door slid open, and Elias stumbled out, collapsing onto the marble floor. He lay there for an hour, breathing free air, realized he had been dismantled by the man he thought he could discard. When he finally stood, he didn't call the police. He packed his bags and vanished before the rental agency came for the furniture. Marcus paid his crew a double bonus the next morning. The mansion sits empty now, but the vault remains open, a silent monument to the fact that you can scam the bank, but you never scam the guy who holds the keys to your oxygen. What would you have done in Marcus's shoes? Would you have let him out for the money, or would you have left him in there just a little bit longer? Let me know in the comments below.